Do you agree with Stephanie White?
Listen, I don't watch the WNBA extensively enough to say whether I agree or disagree. But I've often used the line, Shay, that I'll share with you because I don't know if I've ever used it while you've been on the air with me. If it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it ain't a damn mongoose. I've said that many, many times over the years. There is a flagrant level of resentment that exists when it comes to Caitlin Clark. And it has existed since she has arrived in the league. She is the cash cow.
One whistle, one collision, and one replay completely shifted the conversation surrounding what seemed like an ordinary regular season basketball game. Within minutes, the entire basketball world stopped talking about the final score and started asking the same question. What really happened to Caitlin Clark? No one inside the arena, not the broadcasters, and certainly not the thousands of fans who would later analyze the footage, expected that a single sequence would dominate basketball discussions across the country. Yet, that's exactly what happened. Even after the final buzzer sounded and the players headed to the locker room, the night's biggest story was only beginning. The replays spread across social media almost immediately, appearing on basketball pages, sports networks, YouTube channels, podcasts, and national television. What made the moment even more compelling was a complete lack of agreement about what people were seeing. Some viewers believed it was simply another physical basketball play, while others watched the exact same footage and came away with a completely different conclusion. The debate quickly intensified as fans replayed the clip over and over again, slowed it down, examined different camera angles, and compared thousands of online reactions. Instead of bringing clarity, each new viewing seemed to divide opinions even further. The controversy soon expanded far beyond the WNBA community. National sports media picked up the story. Television programs dedicated segments to the incident. Basketball analysts offered conflicting interpretations, and former players added their own perspectives. Every new opinion fueled the discussion, transforming what began as one controversial sequence into one of the biggest basketball stories of the week. Then the conversation reached another level when Stephen A. Smith addressed the growing controversy on First Take, bringing even greater national attention to a debate that was already dominating.
This news, Phoenix Mercury's Alyssa Thomas receives flagrant foul 2 penalty and a 1-game suspension. I want to know your thoughts. Is 1 game enough? 2 games, 3 games? I'm seeing some say 5 games. I'm seeing some people say 10 games. Alyssa Thomas should have been suspended for. I want to know what you think in the comment section below. Phoenix Mercury's Alyssa Thomas receives flagrant foul 2 penalty and a 1-game suspension. June 25th, 2026. Upon post-game review, the Phoenix Mercury's Alyssa Thomas has received a flagrant foul 2 penalty and a 1-game suspension for recklessly making contact with her fist to the throat area of Indiana Fever guard Caitlin Clark. It was announced today by the WNBA. The incident, for which Thomas was deemed to have committed a non-basketball act, occurred with the 6 minutes and 52 seconds remaining in the second quarter of the Mercury's 111-109 win over the Fever last night at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Per WNBA rule, the league office has the option following its review of any game to reclassify a flagrant foul or to classify as flagrant any foul not called as such during a game and may impose a fine and/or suspension. Alyssa Thomas will serve her suspension on June 27th when the Mercury visit the Toronto Tempo. Now I have a question, because this is similar to what happened with Kennedy Carter. This is also similar with what happened with DJ Nick Carrington. I have a question to the WNBA shills out there. Do any of you guys have the stones? Shout out to Rudy. Any of you guys have the guts, the balls, the courage?
The moment one of the biggest personalities in sports television entered the discussion, the story reached an entirely different level. It was no longer just Indiana Fever fans debating the play. Basketball fans across the country wanted answers. Was it simply an example of aggressive, high-level competition? Did the officials handle the situation appropriately? Or had the incident become part of a much larger conversation about physical play? Consistency in officiating and player safety in today's WNBA? Those questions continue to divide fans, which is exactly why the story refuses to fade away. Every replay seems to spark another opinion. Every opinion leads to another debate, and every debate draws even more people into the conversation. One moment, one replay, and one officiating decision suddenly place an entire league at the center of one of the season's most talked about discussions. So, what actually happened during that sequence? Why has a single play generated such different reactions from fans, analysts, and former players? And why are people still debating it long after the final buzzer? To understand why this moment became such a major talking point surrounding the Indiana Fever this season, it's important to slow everything down and examine the sequence from beginning to end. As the game entered its most competitive stretch, the intensity naturally increased. Every possession carried greater importance. Every rebound became critical, and neither team was willing to surrender easy scoring opportunities. Momentum had become increasingly valuable, and every player on the floor understood what was at stake. The energy inside the arena shifted with each defensive stop. Every loose ball turned into a battle, and the physical nature of the game intensified possession after possession. Then came the sequence that everyone is still talking about. A fast-moving play involving Caitlin Clark that immediately captured the attention of both the crowd inside the arena and viewers watching.
Star power and her cachet, and as a result, if they have an opportunity to go at her, they're going to take it. Now, Caitlin Clark is no innocent bystander in all of this. She's a high-end competitor. She can be very feisty. We saw from her college days where she can chirp and talk junk at you, which is why Angel Reese went at her when they ultimately beat her for the national championship, because she was chirping right back at her and trolling her. That's where the real fame of Angel Reese rose. We saw all of this. In the end, there are people that undoubtedly respect her, and you have an appreciation for what she's brought to the game in terms of notoriety and what have you. And I'll be the first to say that the Janae Ogwumike's, the Andrea Carters, and all of them, Monica McNutts, are far more qualified than me to speak on the issue because they see more of it than I do. But with what I've seen, you are able to say 1 + 1 = 2. And there's been a level of resentment that has existed where I believe there's been a failure on the part of some people to appreciate the mantra of a rising tide lifts all boats. Ride this cash cow till the wheels come off. They did it in the NBA with Magic Johnson. They did it ultimately with Michael Jordan. You know, that's how you do this. You find somebody that just galvanizes folks and ingratiates themselves with the public at large in such a way where everywhere they go and whatever they do, everybody wants to watch. You don't resent that. You feed off of it to build your own. And I think that WNBA as a whole, that women's basketball as a whole, and some, not most, not all, but some WNBA players need to appreciate that and gravitate to that and grab hold of that and ride that wave to your own ascension, as opposed to resenting it and showcasing it the second you get an opportunity to, whenever Caitlin Clark is in your vicinity. That would be my advice. That's all I can say about that.
I didn't love that this happened not once but twice yesterday, where there was basically a no call. I thought Stephanie White did the right thing. She should have gone off. She needs to protect her superstar. That's her right, completely.
Absolutely.
I also do think the league should probably review this. I don't have information on if they have started that process or not, but I think that maybe would be a good call, considering some of the images that have come out from this. I'm not calling anyone a dirty player, but it did feel a little bit like a cheap shot. So I agree with Stephanie.
Well, the NBA, if the NBA is going to review calls, you're saying the WNBA can review calls and act retroactively and make sure that you hand down appropriate punishment where you.
Inside the arena, reactions to the play were immediate. Online, those reactions multiplied within minutes as clips spread rapidly across social media. Basketball content creators began posting slow-motion breakdowns, while fans analyzed a replay frame by frame as different camera angles surfaced. Each new perspective seemed to ignite an entirely new debate. Some viewers believed the officials made the correct decision in real time, while others argued that the replay raised legitimate questions deserving of further discussion. That is precisely why the moment grew far beyond a single possession. Once millions of basketball fans began examining the same play from different viewpoints, the conversation naturally expanded beyond the game itself. And that's exactly what happened. The more people watched, the more questions they asked, and the more those questions fueled an even larger discussion. With every passing hour, it became increasingly clear that this was no longer just another viral highlight. It had evolved into one of the defining basketball conversations of